Greetings.
Greetings. Welcome to Film Gazers, a podcast focusing on the science fiction, horror, fantasy trinity, and 20th century entertainment. I'm Steph.
I'm Jess. We're cousin slash besties. Join us as we reminisce, discuss, and review films from our childhood.
Okay, so first announcement. I just stumbled upon this apparently after we did Run Lola Run, and I felt the need that I put it in notes for this episode so I would distinctly remember to come back and tell you. And so remember when we were making fun of how he called her like a cuckoo egg or something
Yeah.
like that? We're like, what does
Cuckoo
that
egg.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, so it turns out the translation makes perfect sense. We're just real dumb. So, and that's why I
That
also
doesn't
made it the
surprise me.
episode title. So, a cuckoo's egg could be a metaphor for a brood parasitism or parasitism. I don't know how it'd be pronounced, but it's where a parasitic bird deposits its egg into a host's nest, which then incubates and feeds the chick.
Well, that's just
So
way
that's what he
too.
meant. Yeah, because when he was like,
That's
"You're
just
not
way
my
too deep for
kid,"
Americans.
yeah. Well, especially where I'm like, I didn't even know like cuckoo birds were real until I was an adult. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I
I
mean, all
just
I ever
didn't
knew was like
know.
the cuckoo clock. I didn't know about any.
Yeah. No. So, but it is a metaphor for, I guess, this actual like parasite bird practice essentially. So he's basically like, yeah, you're
Joke's
not
on
even my
us.
own. Yeah, you're not even my own. And he's like, cuckoo egg.
Cuckoo egg. I raised somebody else's parasite.
Yep. So that's exactly what that meant. So it
Well,
was
that makes
actually
way more
perfect.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was going to call that out because we're bipartisan here.
Yeah. We don't mind owning up to our mistakes. We know we done.
And I caught it. That's what it is I actually
I
learned
love when
and
that happens.
somehow I know, right? It's where I was like, oh, good. I can fact check myself. And be like, no, I was dumb. It makes perfect sense.
Another dumb American. Sorry.
Someone's gotta perpetuate stereotypes.
Exactly.
All right. So we are starting May, which is Winona Ryder Appreciation Month. And we are kicking off with Girl Interrupted in this episode. And we'll also be doing Reality Bites. And I just want to point out that, I mean, Winona Ryder is a really great actress. And when I was really thinking about it today, I was like, oh man, I was thinking of like all these other movies we technically could have done for this episode. I was just thinking about The Crucible and how much I freaking love that
I forgot
one.
about that one.
Yeah, like she's so good in it. I mean, freaking Little Women.
Yeah.
Like I mean, just
American
so
quilt.
yeah, how to sew an American quilt. Yes, exactly.
Alien Resurrection. Her
Edward
finest
Scissorhands.
performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, Edward
Oh,
Scissorhands.
she was also great in Mermaids.
Uh-huh.
Love that
I
one
feel
with
like that's more
Cher.
of a Cher movie, though. I
It
mean,
is
I
a
guess
Cher
it's
movie,
equal. It's
but she
pretty
was
equal in
young.
it.
That was,
Yeah.
yeah, like she was good. Like she's just done a lot of good films. Even if she's not the star, she
Yeah.
is supporting, always in a good supporting role even.
And I love that she's made a
Um,
comeback with when Stranger Things. It's cracks me up that that's how like kids know her today. Like, oh, it's Will's mom from Stranger Things.
right.
You're like, no, no,
I
no.
know. No, no, no.
She
That
was
woman is a queen.
it.
And yeah, so a lot of herself is reflected in this film. She did like kind of help produce it to an
I
extent, I
saw
believe.
that on the credits.
hmm And yeah, she just she had her own kind of mental health stuff after her Johnny Depp breakup. And
Oh, I
or
mean, who
something. I think
wouldn't?
that was what they mentioned. Well, in the early 90s, yeah, like weren't they were like just everything back then.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm sure that was crazy for her. Because she is quoted to say something like it occurred to her because it didn't matter because she knew because that's what she said. She felt even about her own mental health at the time, like how dare she because she was rich and famous and she had dated freaking Johnny Depp who was like
Hmm.
America's like sweetheart man at the time that everyone loved and so she was saying like she felt like she couldn't have a pity party for herself, or if she
I
was, it
mean,
was going to be like a pity party. Yeah.
right.
Which she's not wrong,
No, you're not.
like,
Just don't tell
but
anybody. Keep that shit to yourself.
exactly. So that's where she found anyway, I'll get into that with the fun facts later. But yeah, so so I just thought it would be this was why I chose this one kind of I think we both
I chose this one.
well, you know what I mean. Why we chose this one
Yeah.
as a good indicator of her. And I think this was a good reason why too, is because she had so much influence in it, creating this one herself.
Mhm.
So that's good. And then we'll have reality bites as well, which was another one I picked out, which I felt like kind of captured the peak, 90s, like Winona.
Of course.
Really rounds out. Basically, her Girl Interrupted character really rounded out like from this kind of era of her movies, really, when you think about it.
And
Because
finished
not too
out
long after,
the whole
not too long
century.
after was when she had her the theft, all
Yeah, I
that stuff.
know.
And
And there was like a reference in there in this movie where she was talking about when you steal something, even though you have the money. I was like, that's a little premonition there, isn't it?
little foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing.
Or was she telling us even then that
And she was like,
she'd been
wink,
stealing
wink.
this whole time?
If you hear about this, that's probably why.
She's like, Easter egg for 2 years
Easter
from now.
egg, I'm a klepto.
So yeah, it's pretty crazy to think about. But yeah, so this is gonna be May, and in June,
May.
it's gonna be May. In June, we are gonna do our very own summer vacay, which means you guys are gonna still get 2 episodes in a month.
Quality
But
content.
they're gonna be shorties. They're gonna be some minis. We're gonna take a little break and just not actually like review anything. Jess is gonna have something fun that she's putting together called Story Time, and then I think I'm gonna probably try to put together another bloopy doop, and that's what you're gonna get.
And you're gonna like it.
I hopefully, or our followers will just massively go down by July.
Well, we'll pull them back in.
Yeah, there we go.
We'll rein them back in July.
There we go.
We don't know what we're doing yet, but
well, that's why we're taking.
It'll get all these viewers.
We gotta get some creative juices going again, guys.
I mean, I've already got an idea.
There we go.
That I'll run by you later.
Perfect. So what you've been watching, what you've been doing?
I started a new book series.
Cool.
Kenna from work let me borrow the first book in the series because she thought I would really enjoy it. I'm only on chapter 4 so far, but I am thoroughly enjoying it.
What's it called?
It's called Fourth Wing. Like chicken wing.
Not what the book's chicken wing, not angel wing or like butterfly wing.
I go buffalo chicken wing. Ain't no thing.
Like a chicken wing.
Right. But it's nothing to do with chickens or wings. It's about dragons and dragon riders. And I thought it was going to be more like young adult teeny bopper kind of, just from what I, glanced at the back and like what the cover looked like. But it's adult. It's like an adult fantasy. It's almost like a girl Game of Thrones is what the vibe I'm getting so far.
Nice.
And
you're like, and I am like,
I'm here for it. Yeah. I was like, ooh, they already said fuck. That's a good sign. So it's definitely for, older than 13.
There you go.
Yeah. So I was excited because it's been I haven't read a book in a long time. Well, no, I guess I read Where the Crawdads Sing.
That was probably a long time ago now.
That was like a year ago now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. So it's been like a year since I read a book. That's pretty sad.
Yeah. I mean, it happens. I get it. I went years, dude. Like I went for quite a few years without reading like an entire book. I just could not find anything that would keep my interest long enough.
Mine wasn't even,
I'm doing it.
Yeah, it was kind of that. And it was also like, I get a little obsessive when I read.
Yeah.
And then I just won't do anything until I finish the book. I don't need to be like that sometimes either.
Like everything else falls
it
aside.
does. Like one more page, one more page, one more chapter, one more chapter, one more page.
I used to be like that, but I haven't found anything that's been like me wanting to do that, you know? Otherwise, it feels like a chore sometimes. Until recently, I've actually started to enjoy reading again.
Well, probably because you and Andrew are doing it together too. So
Yeah, that's true.
that makes it fun.
Yeah, because I've been reading my Tail Chaser songs. We took a pontoon boat out. We won a rental from like a radio station. So that
That's
was really cool. So
amazing.
I know. So we got 4 hours for free, like a half day rental of a pontoon boat here in town too. So it was like right there in the sound. And we went to where like the locals go. Well, where like the locals with boats go, rather.
You're like, I've only
So
lived here for 30 years, but
but never been there. But instead of going, okay, so our area is really known for like Crab Island. If you have not looked up Crab Island, look it up. You're going to see a plethora of different kinds of videos, and it's going to be
yes,
very funny.
the best were there was like a huge fight that broke out there.
Recently. Yeah.
Was it last summer?
I think it was last summer. Yeah. And I think it went viral.
It was hilarious.
Yeah. People go crazy
It
over
was a
there.
brawl.
So obviously we did not want to go there.
I haven't been there since I was a child because I'm not about that.
We went there probably like 8 years ago with when friends came into town, but
Mhm.
they're chill, you know. So we were like just off by the distance, and it wasn't like a super crazy day or anything. But it's whatever, it's fine. I mean, essentially, they're like everyone's just peeing around each other, and it's gross.
Yeah.
So we went over to. I guess there's this place called like I don't even know. I don't even know what the islands are called, but there's just other random little island, like actual little islands that are between the Sound and the other barrier island.
Mhm.
And you can just like pull up kind of an anchor real close because it's real shallow, and then you can just like hang out, and it's even better than Crab Island, to be honest.
Well, especially if it's private.
Yeah, and it was amazing. Like there were still people around, but everyone keeps their like distance, you know what I mean?
It's not the party side.
Yeah, exactly. And apparently there was like on the other side of the island there was like a random swing that's like built over the water some, but like people were hanging out around that. So we didn't go. But and then he like drove the boat some. It was really nice. We really needed like just a break. So that was good. But then our cat got sick. Yeah, for free, which was good because then our cat got sick and we had to spend a bunch of money on that.
Mhm.
But he's doing well. So it was kind of a nerve-wracking. It's been a nerve-wracking week for me. So I haven't really watched much of anything. Just fallen asleep to my usual bacon kind of shows. Right now it's the Nailed It one, the Nailed It like baking challenge, which I'm gonna say is the American equivalent of the Great British Bake Off because it encapsulates the same wholesomeness is what I'm gonna go with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same
and then
vibe.
I've Dragon Ball Super, You're still on
Always.
Roseanne, right?
Still Roseanne. And then me and my mom are watching The Connors together.
Oh, there you go. Sweet.
We're watching Roseanne separately on our own time. And then we come together for The Connors.
Perf.
Yeah, there's less seasons of The Connors.
Oh, that's funny.
We can plow through Roseanne on our own time. And also we did have also some more good news. Dave finally has a date for his upcoming surgery.
Oh, there we go.
So that's in 2 weeks.
Oh shit, it's gonna happen quick.
It's quick with the quickness.
I know, but it's like he's been waiting for like a year.
It'll be a year in July. We've been waiting for this.
Wow. So there we go.
So we're happy that that's finally on its way, and it'll be perfect because we're have June off anyway. So
there you go.
In case
Perfect.
Appointments and whatever, and we'll have to worry about recording everything.
Look at that. We are so prepared.
Yes.
The universe just aligned itself.
The universe did. Thanks, universe.
There you go. All right. Well, in this episode, we watched 1999's Girl Interrupted. The release date was December 21st, 1999. The running time is 127 minutos. It was directed by James Mangold. Screenplay by James Mangold, Lisa Loomer, and Anna Hamilton Felon. based on
Oh.
Girl Interrupted by Susanna Kaysen, or it could be Phelan. I don't know.
Felon.
It's
I
Phelan.
know, I saw that just
Phelan.
now. Anna
How do
Hamilton,
you
felon.
say it? I'm so sorry.
Comma, felon.
It was produced by Douglas Wick and Kathy Conrad, starring Winona Ryder, Angelina Jolie, Clea Duvall, Brittany Murphy, Elizabeth Moss, Jared Leto, Jeffrey Tambor, Vanessa Redgrave, Whoopi Goldberg. Cinematography was by Jack N. Green, edited by Kevin Tent, and music by Michael Dana. The budget was 40 million, and get this shit, the box office was only 48.3.
Whoa.
Isn't that mind-boggling?
But I didn't see it in theaters. I watched the shit out of it at home.
That's true. I mean, but we were both still in 99.
I was
In
in
99,
ninth
I was
grade.
fairly young.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, this was a rated R movie, so it would make sense
Oh
why I didn't see
no.
it in theaters. But still, I can't believe more people didn't. I don't, it just blew, that was
Because it
crazy to me.
seemed a huge hit.
Well, because it was Oscar. I mean, a lot of Oscar movies
Oh,
don't make
that's right.
bank,
Yeah, that's true.
which
That's
is
true.
true. So anyway, into the fun facts. Ryder was 21 when her father gave her a copy of the book by Susanna Kaysen, and she immediately wanted to make a movie out of it. She
Oh,
tried to
okay.
get the rights to it herself, and then she found out eventually that Wick had them already. So she got in touch with Wick, and she was basically attached to the project from the beginning. Wick is quoted saying she was a vigorous partner in the creative process. And she's quoted saying, when I read the book, I was in a way sad that I hadn't got to read it as a teenager. I could have really used it from like the ages of 16 to 18.
Hmm.
So she did serve as an executive producer along with Carol Brody, which was said in an HBO segment that was done about the film. James Mangold, then he was known for the gritty 1997 indie drama Copland that Sylvester
Oh
Stallone
my
was in.
God, where you gained weight for it.
Yeah, that's
That was like
exactly what
that was the biggest
when
deal.
yes, that is so funny you said that because that's literally what I got this particular fact for. The rest of the like the paragraph about it was literally about that, where it was like where people made more of a big deal of
Because he got
Sylvester
fat.
Stallone's. Oh no. But
Not
yes.
Rocky.
But the director did that film as well. Later he went on to do the Johnny Cash biopic, Walk the Line. And then he
Hmm.
also did the X-Men spinoffs, the Wolverine and Logan.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's Mr. Mangold there for you.
Nice.
And in Entertainment Weekly in 1998, before filming began, um, there was a quote from it saying that there had been numerous, different actresses, of course, for all of the different roles. It was a very large female cast. Some of them included Gretchen Mol, Alicia Witt, Christina Ricci, Katie Holmes, Kate Hudson, Reese Witherspoon, and Alanis Morissette.
We're all
Because
considered.
she had just filmed some in Dogma, I guess. So I guess
Mhm.
people were maybe thinking Alanis would act more. I guess she never did. Maybe she didn't want to. I don't know. And then at the time, indie darling Sarah Polley was poised to take the role for Lisa, but she ultimately didn't, apparently. It was Angelina Jolie who they went with. She was earning major praise because she had just done her HBO biopic Gia, which I believe you
Mhm.
remember as well.
Of course. Watch the shit out of that one on HBO.
I know.
Every time it was on, I
I
was like,
watched it
Gia,
at
all
your
right,
house.
I'll watch it
Yep.
again. I mean,
um,
Angelina Jolie was like the epitome of heroin chic.
Yeah, she really was during that time. So Susanna Kaysen is quoted that they when she saw the film, that they did, at least they felt like a group, and that made her very happy to see, because that was an important part of why I liked being in the loony bin to the extent that I did. Um was the relationships, and what she kind of learned from
Hmm.
the women that she was in there with. So Elizabeth Moss, this actually just came out just a few days ago. So I hurried up and had put it in the notes. She had recently appeared on Kelly Ripa's Let's Talk Off Camera podcast because she's promoting a new FX series, The Veil. And she was reflecting on the intimidating but exhilarating set of James Mangold's 99 drama Girl Interrupted. She was 15 when they shot this movie, when she was playing Polly.
Oh,
And
okay. What
yeah,
else
that's
is she
Elizabeth
in?
Moss. Yeah.
Oh, that,
Yeah,
yeah,
the Invisible
okay.
Man,
Yes,
like,
yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
Handmaid's Tale. Yeah, 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 all that. That's her.
I knew she looked
And
familiar.
it's hard to tell with the makeup,
Well, I mean,
but
because
I
they
feel
showed the
like,
picture of her as a little girl before she had the, burns or
hmm
whatever.
yeah.
And I was like, who is that? Those teeth look familiar.
That smile.
That smile, I
Um,
knew it looked familiar.
yeah, but she has been quoted as saying that the tension that exists between Winona Ryder and Angelina Jolie, they had that naturally divide into camps, like basically on the set. So she's quoted as saying she was in the Winona Ryder camp. The Angelina Jolie camp was really cool. I was intimidated by the Angelina Jolie camp. I had no thoughts of ever being able to be in that camp.
She was too cool for it, so she was in the Winona camp. I beg to differ. I feel like Winona is pretty cool.
I know. I was like, Winona's still cool. She's just more dark and brooding cool. And Angelina Jolie is, yeah, like heroin chic cool, I
In your
guess, like for
face.
that era.
Yeah.
Yeah, for that time. So I thought that was hilarious. No, it wasn't in like ooh, it was a catty way. It wasn't anything like that. They just naturally kind of cut into those camps. So that way when they were acting, maybe the
Right.
different tensions or whose side, kind of thing. Um, and even Winona Ryder has been said to say, I remember thinking, oh, she and I will turn out to be great friends. But after being on
Wrong.
set with Angelina Jolie, she realizes that she basically kept her distance because Angelina Jolie needed to not see her as Winona and only see her as the other character.
So she's more method actor.
A little bit, yeah, just to keep her, because she said that because even Angelina Jolie was quoted saying she didn't want to humanize basically Winona Ryder too much, so she could like still pretend to be like sociopathic kind of towards her
I have no
during the
feelings towards
crucial,
her.
yeah, have no feelings towards her, because she's like, oh, I felt like if I got to know her, then it would be obvious, that she's like not being like cold, I guess, towards
Hmm.
her. And that is one thing that Mangold said about Winona Ryder, was that she never got lost in the material. Because she was operating from experience, instead of from intellectual parallels, already spent a lot of time just remembering what it was like to be so very deep inside yourself. So he figured she didn't really have to get lost and separate herself like how the others kind of had to, because she was kind of already had been living her similar, journey with her own mental health.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I got a lot of that from an E Online article, actually, because again, when I started looking up fun facts, that was when I was like, oh, wait, is this one of those movies that I thought was like super popular? And it turns out
It
like,
was only popular with us.
yeah. And apparently, at least from an initial, like I said, again, it's Google. So if something's pretty popular, you get like a lot of big website hits, like in different things. Surprisingly, I did not get much when I searched. Um, you have the standard IMDb, Wikipedia, and then I have a few of these articles. I did find a fun blog as well by Michael McNamara, where he compared the book to the movie. And I do have a quote, just so people kind of do know. I have read the book. Have you?
If I have, I don't remember any of it. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure I
It
read
was,
it back in 99, but that
yeah,
was
it was very short. Like, it is kind of, honestly, I was surprised that like Winona Ryder's like, this is so memorable and it affected me and stuff like that. Because I remember being so disappointed, but I think it was because I read it after seeing the movie.
right.
And while it's very good, and it is just more inward and about herself, like everything else is so much fluff. Like none of this other stuff is like remotely in the film about these other people, other than like a very surface scratch. And then they elaborate everything.
In the book?
So in the movie they elaborate
Oh.
everything. In the book it is very bare bones. Like she barely goes into
Oh,
anyone.
really?
Like, yeah. So here's something from this blog by Michael McNamara. He goes, in the book, Susanna describes her symptoms as severe enough to impair her perception of reality. She contemplates her hands and anxiously considers if they might have bones in them. And that is when she endeavors to find out by cutting herself. So she was like way more off the deep end than the movie suggests.
I don't know. They said the exact same thing in the movie.
They do, but they don't make it seem as intense as I think it actually was. Like she was actually in psychosis, like during a big beginning of her time there, I guess. And so she goes really heavily into that in the book. And again, the book, it just very surface level of like Daisy's character, like is mentioned, like just that, oh, Daisy killed herself, but there was nothing more, anything remotely, that was it. Like you just knew, oh, some girl that was in there with her,
Yeah,
head.
that's kind of what I was reading about last night.
Yeah. So, among other things, like Lisa, I mean, she gets out and like has a kid and stuff later, like,
Yeah.
normal, like just normal stuff. So, because really also the book ultimately is about women and mental health during the 60s, which I don't feel like they show enough of.
Right.
They kind of, graze on it, but that's what a lot of it was about too. So I think that was just needed to be mentioned. So Jess is going to take it away with the You Googled summary.
Set in the changing world of the late 1960s, Girl Interrupted is the searing true story of Susanna Kaysen, a young woman who finds herself at a renowned mental institution for troubled young women, where she must choose between the world of people who belong on the inside, like the seductive and dangerous Lisa, or the often difficult world of reality on the outside. I think it's been a long time since I've seen this one now.
Same for me as well. I mean, probably well over a decade. Well over.
Which is funny because I think I own it.
Oh, nice.
Even though I rented it last night.
I did own it when I was younger, up until a certain point, probably in my 20s, which is probably early 20s was probably the last time I watched this film.
I guess that's had to be my head did too.
I was a big fan of this one. I watch it quite a bit. I remember it was also one that I would like kind of go to sleep to at night sometimes.
Soft, soothing sounds of women screaming. You're like, it sounds just like inside my head.
I think it was because it was the long VHS, so it would like be running for 2 hours. Maybe.
Just enough time for you to fall asleep.
Yeah, that's probably more of what it was. But yeah, no, I was really into this one. I had like my own mental health stuff going on when I was like in middle school, and that was like when this movie for me around the time frame that it came out. So I liked it because of the message ultimately is kind of letting Susanna, because she they tell her like you're not crazy, kind of, you know what I mean? Like they're like, you can work through your shit if you just apply yourself. So I kind of like that message, because someone like me, like I could sit and wallow. Like I'm a good wallower. I get it. Like they show her wallowing a lot in her self-pity, and I'm like, I could get that. Like I get that feeling.
Well, and I didn't realize, like, when I watched it as a kid, I just assumed she was like so much older than me, and I'm like, she was only supposed to be like 18, I think.
Oh yeah, she was supposed to be pretty young, like college, age. She just like left high school or whatever.
Yeah, she had literally just graduated, and I guess that never clicked with me when I was young, that she was just out of high school. So I didn't realize how young she was. So obviously you're a good wallower at that age in suburbia, like, and you're like, oh, the most I've ever had to go through is graduating, and I don't want to go to college. I just want to write. They're like, what do you mean?
Exactly.
What are you going to do? I'm going to write. Yeah. And like, you can't do that in the 60s and not have a real job or a husband.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's true. That's a big deal. God. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I just remember though in middle school for me, yeah, like I did enjoy that. And Winona Ryder's character was the character that I was like, oh, she's, she's cool. She's super cool. Angelina Jolie was supposed to be like, yeah, she was badass. But I don't know. Now as an adult, I see from a different perspective of how like you said at the time, like Angelina Jolie was like the heroin chic like aesthetic that everyone was aspiring to, that was like on the adult, more of the adult level,
Hmm.
like let's be honest. Um, there was more of a divide than I feel like now between, because you see little girls mimicking even more so certain like adult women's like fashion, just
Hmm.
because of the internet. So, but back then I felt a little more separated. So Angelina Jolie did feel like, I felt like that was like the woman. So I
Right.
get what like Elizabeth Moss was even saying. But now I'm like, oh, they were kind of like almost glamorizing and romanticizing like mental
Oh,
illness
for
on the
sure.
side of Angelina Jolie. When
Sexy.
now watching it though, and watching the ultimate, like I said, message is that it was really telling you, no, you don't let it wallow. Don't let it consume you,
Right.
because that's
You're
what
driving
happens.
yourself crazy, is what she
Exactly.
told
Yeah.
her.
And
Yeah.
like, so yeah, so looking back now though, I'm like, oh, I could see how maybe that would have been like misconstrued, but obviously not, because no one fucking watched this movie hardly. So,
I know. I
so
know. Cause
apparently it influenced very little.
which I had did not remember, because I remember in our friend circle, it was big.
Hmm.
Not that we had that many friends.
Well, no, well, even as I got older though, like, and people I knew, like, yeah, out more outwardly than like you and me and all of that, like they still enjoyed the movie.
I just felt
So,
like it was
or
a very like teenage girl, like,
yeah, I guess that's really what it is. And uh,
which is so funny.
yeah.
It's this considered a teenage girl movie when it's about women mental institution.
Oh, I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand, doesn't
Right.
It's teenage girls, when you start, you're coming into becoming yeah, into like womanhood or
Hmm.
whatever.
And
And then
puberty,
you find
man,
out, yeah, and you start
and
finding out like the
hormones
stark reality, of life and kind of
of
how it
life. And that's
operates.
usually when all your
Yeah.
like mental illnesses usually start around that age. Yeah.
Uh-huh. It's a
It's a
horrible
trifecta.
cocktail.
It's a wonder anybody makes it out alive.
Well, yeah, I guess that's our memories of this film.
Yeah.
How it affected us long term, obviously. And been a while since we've watched it. So we're just gonna get into it. Oh my gosh, the intro, little rough. I'm gonna go, it's very 90s kind of. It was giving me fried green tomatoes,
Yeah.
right?
Another Southern belle just not that she was Southern, but
Yeah, just narration. Had a weird music choice kind of
hmm.
in the beginning as well. I guess it wasn't that weird. I think it was supposed to be like 60s music, but I don't
Right.
know. It still, like I said, gave me like fried green tomatoes vibes.
And I was like, her first problem is having Red as a therapist.
I know, I
I
saw
was
that
like,
too. I
can't
was
wait to
like,
be like, dumbass.
I know. Like Red Foreman, therapist.
Him looking over his shoulder, therapist. Yeah, that was funny. I was like, oh my God, I forgot that sound.
Yeah.
And
And in the
then
big,
that she was like, my mother's here. And he's like, yeah, we talked about it. It's you're not riding with her.
I know. Yeah, like, oh, she's not gonna see you again until you get better, I guess. Like she's
We're
gonna cry
just
in the car and watch you
Baker acting
go.
your ass.
Yeah. It's very waspy, that's for sure it is. Like that's what it
Hmm.
feels like. Like, oh my God, what will the neighbors think? Like it's that kind
You're
of
not acting
vibes.
appropriately at our dinner parties.
Um, I completely forgot Whoopi Goldberg was in this movie.
I did too. I knew it had a nurse that she was friends with, but I did not know it was Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah, no, I blanked out completely. Honestly, I completely forgot any of them. I just remembered like, oh, Winona Ryder. Like,
I knew it had her and
'cause-
Angelina Jolie. I knew
yeah,
she was like
yeah.
crazy in it.
And I had vaguely remembered Brittany Murphy's character just because she was such a memorable character.
Hmm.
But that was kind of I guess the standouts when I really, yeah, watching it this go around, I was like, oh, I don't hardly remember any of this movie. I
Yeah, I had forgotten. Like it started coming back to me as I was watching
exactly.
it, but
But yeah, coming from straight, no recollection, you're like, oh yeah, oh yeah, 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 that's right, that's right. So yeah, and they go back to there's a lot of flashback scenes in the beginning of this movie.
well,
It
that's
doesn't do it later, but that's how it carries
mm-hmm.
you through the beginning narration, basically.
Because that's how she explained like she was drifting through time. Like time is
Hmm.
not linear. It's and so she was like that one part. She's like, "Do I have ESP?"
Yeah.
And then that's why I wondered if that was why later when she smashed her hand, if she looked at it like, "There's no bones in my hand."
Yeah.
I was like, wonder if that's what she was thinking and was like,
I think so too. I feel like in that moment, that is where, and because it was with Lisa and everything, it was like kind of her in that moment of like, is she gonna fall to her illness again and like let it
mm-hmm.
consume her, you know,
Right.
or was she going to overcome it? And it all, yeah, and it all builds from kind of, yeah, these beginning moments. Yeah, where you get the different flashbacks. Yeah, again, like you said, it's like giving you that feeling of what she's feeling as if she's traveling through time. But it seems
Mm-hmm.
like she's just kind of disassociating into different memories. Um
That's what it seemed like to me too. I was
yeah.
like, is that not just reliving your memories? And you're like, get out of there. Get
But
out of my
yes,
head.
so if you're not familiar with this movie, it does take place in the 1960s. Again, yeah, she's a very like waspy kind of intellectual, you know, she wants to be a
Mm-hmm.
writer girl. She is very privileged in the movie. They do make her seem more like a spoiled or petulant child at times.
Right.
Her I mean, I don't even know. Is it trauma? I don't know if we can say that. She sleeps with her married man. Like she sleeps with what, a professor, you
She's in
know?
high school, I think. I think it was her high
Yeah.
school teacher.
Oh, so that was even different. So it was her high school teacher. Okay, so
So
that makes
that
more
is kind of
sense.
trauma in
You're
itself.
right. You're right. Because I was thinking that she was in college already. Like we discussed, you keep thinking she's older. So yeah, you're right.
Right.
Oh my God.
I
I'm
realized that last night after I watched it and I like did some reading and I was like, "Oh my god,
okay,
that was
yeah.
her high school teacher."
No, wait, was it really her high school teacher?
I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be her high school teacher.
Okay. Yeah, that's crazy because then that does mean her mom was basically like they were covering up.
Either way, even if it was a professor, she was only supposed to be like when in the book she was 17, I think when this started. So if anything, she's just 18, 19, you know?
Yeah.
Like
No,
that's
insane.
still had gray hair.
Right. I know. And then the scene later they show that the wife
Was like
um
attacking her.
yeah, in the ice cream parlor on a day out where all the girls are allowed to go out for ice cream. So that scene feels kind of vindicated because they like scare the shit out of the lady. But yeah, so really it is. And now that I'm thinking into it, I'm like, no,
Because she
they
didn't go to
really
college.
they really should have
They made such a
reiterated.
big deal about that she wasn't going to college.
Yeah, you're right. So I guess it's like, yeah, you're right. In my head, I'm still thinking, oh, well, they're just mad because she's like 20 and she's never gone to college. You know what I mean? Because at this
Right.
time, Winona Ryder was, I believe, in her 30s, you know? So yeah, you just keep thinking, okay, she's supposed to be a little more like aligned to what her real life age was. But no, yeah, she's
Hmm.
definitely supposed to be just, yeah, like 18, I think
Right.
tops. Yeah, I think you're right. So yeah, so basically, she was uh like essayed and like taken advantage of by like a teacher.
And then he was
And
trying to
then
go up there in her room during her
yeah.
father's birthday party.
So and then they were
Try to
blaming
assault
her
her
for it.
again.
Yeah, so then it sounds like that they were blaming her for it.
Oh,
So
for
that
sure.
is yeah, so that is bonkers. But I also wonder, I'm like, what kind of place is this really when they talk about Claymore? Because at one point, you know, she is complaining, saying this place is like you know, awful. And
Hmm.
then Whoopi Goldberg's character is like, no, I've worked at like state-run places and you have not seen anything. Um, so that brings me to the point though, where I'm like, this is supposed to be some like legit, then like expensive like retreat for these people. Granted, it is the 60s, so it's different than what modern times like, what some kind of therapy
Retreats would
place would be
be.
now. Yeah. But back then, this is supposed to be like the luxe. So it's also kind of like, but y'all are real bad at your jobs. At least the night shift is, because they're like getting out of their shit all the time. They're getting out. They're like not
Oh
taking their
yeah.
meds constantly.
There's one nurse
Like,
to watch over everybody because they're supposed to be asleep, I guess.
I,
And they just run amok
but,
while she has that one cigarette.
mm-hmm.
And then somehow magically reappear before she gets back.
Yeah. So it's funny because I'm just like, okay, it's supposed to be like a cream of a crop kind of place, but
That has no
yeah.
nighttime supervision.
I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. And then also, I'm like, who the fuck is paying for Lisa's stay? She's been there for 8 years, they said.
Right. It's got to be her parents.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I'm like, whose loaded parents are Lisa's? Like, that's the
Right.
one thing. You just kind of know Lisa's supposed to be a sociopath, but that's it. You don't get anything else about her character.
Yeah. And every time she runs away, where does she go?
Yeah, we just know that she is her mental illness, essentially. That
Right.
is what they've created of her character. So I mean, which is it, I mean, I guess that's apt. I mean, that is her character, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I guess it makes sense not to give her anything else. Kind of, other than, but they show it throughout the film in the little moments when she's supposed to be like really tearing into someone.
Yeah.
And they always show it afterwards, like it's like a smirk or a certain sneer kind of thing of like she's very happy with herself in that moment.
hmm
But then at other moments, they show her doing stuff that's quite selfless. So I think that is the little bit of humanity we're supposed to get from her character that is supposed to give you more of that,
That's what
you
kind of
can
confused me though,
sympathize
because
with her.
a true sociopath doesn't have any of that though, do they? I feel like they don't have any of that kind of humanity, like
I
connection or
don't
like
think
a
they're supposed
remorse.
to.
Because she felt
Yeah.
like bad at the end of the movie of like, I'm not dead. You know what I mean? Like crying
No,
because she
that's
was like,
true. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I don't know. I'm like, or is her character just like bipolar? Because it
that's what
seems
I
like
thought
she,
both of them seemed just a little manic and then depressive. You know what I mean? I was like, maybe
yeah,
both of them just be a little
I don't know.
bipolar.
Because yeah, I'm like, is
And
she a
then
sociopath? Because,
saying
but
that,
you, like I said, you see her seek enjoyment though, and they really do show it more when uh Daisy unalives herself.
yeah.
They really do show like in that moment of her like almost like she's checking out her handiwork, and that's when you're like, okay, that's kind of fucked. Maybe it's
See,
because
I
she's
kind
been
of felt she was
spiraling.
more like kind of like just like numb, like shut it down. Let's get the money. Let's get the fuck out of here. Stick to the plan. You
Hmm.
know what I mean?
I
She's
guess I
like kind of
interpreted it
battle
differently.
worn, like
No,
seen
she is supposed to
shit
be
already.
worn.
And she's probably
No, I give
like,
you
this
that.
what was the girl's option? That or like what was happening to her for the rest of her life.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like that was a
that's
no-win
true.
situation,
But that wasn't
regardless.
though Lisa's decision to make to push her
Oh,
to
yeah,
that
to push
thing,
her to that point.
Yeah. And so, and for her to, like I said, to me, it seemed like she definitely sought enjoyment out of it, or she got enjoyment out of that because she's even like laughs at directly afterwards when Winona Ryder's character, is still upset, about what she was saying.
hmm
Um, but like, yeah, like I said, then they show her with moments of humanity. Like even her, like she remember was painting the nails of that one girl laying in the bed, which of course Winona Ryder does for her at the very end.
Right.
So, but yeah, so that's where I feel like they do make her a little multifaceted, despite not really knowing much more about her, like you even get some of the other characters. Oh, how about that Jared Leto?
Oh man, was he beautiful in this?
Oh my goodness. So I have to be a little where I was like, I kind of forget like how like high pitched his voice was.
Oh, it wasn't enough to for me to
It,
notice.
it made it to no, he was just so young. So
Yeah.
now, like me at my age now watching it, I was like, Oh, he's like a little baby. Like,
Oh yeah, but he was a
like
beautiful
I could
baby.
not. I was like, no. I was like, I could see why like 13-year-old Stephanie was like, oh my God, he's so cute. But
Oh,
no, now I'm
me,
like, oh
yeah.
no, he's a little baby man.
Um,
There's no way.
ninth grade, Jess was like, "What an idiot! Why wouldn't she just run away with him to Canada and live with him forever?" I'm like, "She slept with him one time. She doesn't know this man from Adam." I was like,
No.
"No way would I run away to Canada with this man." Like, I'll
Nope.
fucking shot up there at a cabin in the woods. What can I do up there? I can never come home again. You're gonna be a deserter. No, I don't think so.
Oh my God, that's great.
Flattered, but no. That's what she was like. I want to get out of here, but not with you. Not with you. Let me reiterate. Not
I
with
know.
you.
She does reiterate it too.
I was like,
Uh,
you go, girl.
I
I get
know. I
it.
feel like we probably might be all over the place in this review. It's a really long movie, guys. So yeah, basically, yeah, she's been admitted. She's been basically, I guess what's the word, like contemptuous or like just um
Perpetuous. Perpetuous.
she's very much anti-authority. She is like against this facility that ultimately, she is supposed to be getting value from it, not fighting it. Um, and very much on the side of Lisa and making friends here and stuff like that. She also is going through the therapy some after she tells Jared Leto no, because she is basically making a choice where she realizes, hey, I'm probably actually not that well, and I probably do need to take advantage of this.
Right.
While at the same time crashing and burning. Because I'm like, so you make that smart decision. But then later that night, she breaks the rules because Polly's like freaking out, which I'm sure Polly has like PTSD from whatever happened to her. They
Mm-hmm.
really don't,
Explain any of that.
yeah, besides that made up story that the girl tells her.
Who's a compulsive liar? And I'm like, that's why she's in there? Just because she's a compulsive liar?
Well, and then that's why later Winona Ryder in her journal like talks about Georgina. Yeah, she's a pathological liar, but she's like, I think only to her therapist. Like for the most part, Georgina seems like she could function just fine.
Oh, okay.
So I think that's what it is. She's like, oh, is she a pathological liar? Or is she just so much more comfortable here that she is a pathological liar to stay in here? Like, kind of
Gotcha.
thing. Yeah. So almost like Arrested Development, though, is like what a lot of these people are supposed to have had,
Right.
which makes sense with Jeffrey Tambor being the freaking
Yes.
therapist.
Yeah.
Because I kept watching, I'm like, who is this guy? I
I
could not,
know. It took
him with
me,
hair, I couldn't recognize.
and then all I could think of is like, oh, the Grinch. It's the mayor of Whoville. Oh, but also when they were doing their therapy and the traumatic incident she had where she rolled off the bed as a baby and broke her leg and they had to strap her to a board for however long.
Yeah, I still don't understand that.
And then she was like, "You never told me that." And she was like, "Could that have anything to do with it?" I'm like, "Yeah, I feel like that could have." I totally feel like that could have,
Yeah, because
lady.
well, I'm like, didn't they say they strapped her on board and drove her somewhere? Like, or it was like something weird. I was like,
Something real weird.
I was like, I don't even know. I don't even want to know anymore. That's, I don't know what weird story
Could that
this
have done
was.
it? Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Probably, lady.
Yeah, it probably could have done it.
That's why she's so promiscuous.
That and like her high school teacher.
Well, at first when they said promiscuous too, because that's what bothered. Now it really bothers me because I'm like,
Right.
she was taken advantage of by a fucking teacher, and
Yeah.
you're calling her I'm like, yeah, because even she says that she was like, what? How many people does have to be with for me to be promiscuous? Because so
Hmm.
all they've shown us is that a teacher that took advantage of her, and one guy she actually consented to do something with, which you find out later, I guess, is a BJ or whatever. So
Right,
I'm
right.
like, I'm like. I'm like, yeah, how is she promiscuous? And then, but when the lady words it like, oh, does this with one guy and then has a sex act. And then I was like, she kissed a guy. She did not have a sex act with the orderly.
Yeah,
Like,
and unless kissing is considered,
I know, which I do not. I do not
no,
consider
no
that.
way.
No, like you kiss your
That's
mom. Like,
and yeah,
I feel like Lisa, sure, because she was saying she was, doing it for money to get a crown, and she's trying to go to Florida to become
right.
Cinderella. Like, like, okay, sure, maybe that, but I don't, yeah, I feel like her character, no, with the whole I wish I remembered specifically in the book if she like referred to if she was actually promiscuous or not. I can't remember. But either way,
Now
no,
read the book.
I don't think in the movie that the character was portrayed like that enough to promote, yeah, like that kind of
Mhm.
label, which I think is supposed to be also probably commentary on the time as well. It was the 60s.
As the swinging 60s. But yeah, watching that tub scene where she's in the tub and Whoopi's in there,
Mhm.
that was really hard to watch.
Oh, it was. Yes. Oh, you're talking about the later one. At first, I thought you meant the one where
Yeah,
she was
shaving her legs.
shaving her legs. And then
No,
I'm like,
it
oh no, you're
was
talking about the awful, horrendous
the
one
awful,
that I
awful.
also because Whoopi calls her privileged ass out for a little bit. Yeah, she says some really horrible, unforgivable things to Whoopi that her character later does apologize for, but I don't I if I were Whoopi Goldberg, I'm like, there's no coming back from that. But that's why
I
she's supposed to
wouldn't
be
think
the
so
better
either,
person
but
and character
yeah,
because she also is a nurse in a crazy hospital.
true.
So
And
I
she
guess
even
she
told
kind of
her
knows.
what I just think it's funny that that was her go-to when the other girl was doing it earlier, and she was like, she thinks that bothers me. So
I
like
think
she's
that's why she's supposed to be acknowledging it. Like maybe that's why it's supposed to be even more insulting coming from her because
to me
she's
it
like
was. Yeah.
regressing to doing something like that. Maybe,
Yeah.
yeah. Like the whole scene is really bothersome.
It's very bothersome because I'm like, now it just feels fake, like your whole illness. It feels like you're faking all of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it was just so unnecessary, really, to the plot and everything. Like she still could have been like, mean or like stupid, but I feel like I don't know why they felt it
To
necessary
go
to because that wasn't in
there.
the book or anything like that.
No,
Again, like I said,
yeah.
most of this stuff is just total
Fluff.
elaboration. So yeah, I felt like for that reason, because it wasn't actually part of the original source material, like it wasn't at the forefront. That's not what this book was about. So no, why do something like that? You just made it
Yeah.
uncomfortable for no reason.
And then now I'm like, okay,
And
so
that
secretly she's racist
well, and
then.
especially knowing that the real
Even
girl
doing
isn't.
that.
Like, yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like, like this
Right.
person does exist. She's a real person. So you did her dirty, like
Yeah. I'd be
to
like,
make,
how
you
take
know what
that
I
shit
mean?
out.
Exactly. So I was like, oh, I would have been very upset had I had
They
seen
had to
it.
make it so dramatic.
Yeah, I
They're
guess
like,
that's what
what
it
would be the most dramatic
I don't
thing
know.
we
Yeah,
could
it just
do?
felt like yeah, insulting. And I mean Whoopi Goldberg's such a great actress, so I
Ugh,
just
can you imagine having to do
I'm
that
like,
and look
yeah,
at
like
Whoopi
really
and say
you
that?
did that to her? Yeah, like I don't know. So that yeah, rewatching it now in that scene, I'm like, that was just a bad call on all y'all's parts.
Yeah.
Like how dare you?
It was so hard to watch.
Yeah, it was like how yeah, it was just fucking unnecessary. And it's like, I guess what maybe what they were trying to justify with it is like, oh, well, see, you're seeing like her character. That's how far she's letting like her wallowing and like letting her mental illness win or whatever. But still, nah.
Yeah, I know. There's another way to do it, I think.
Yeah. After all of this situation, everything, because they had got in trouble because their little kumbaya downtown singing and all that. And she doesn't see Lisa for a while. And because Lisa's always like, they're going to give me the shocks. We got to
I
blow
just
this
snorted.
popsicle stand.
You say?
So she's like, oh, do you want to go to Florida? And yeah, and then they GTFO. You kind of, and this is where you do get a glimpse, I guess, of what Lisa does when she gets out of there, which is apparently like hooks up with random dudes, steals their money, and just starts hitchhiking out of there, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
because that's how she rolls.
Well, and
And
really, she got the shocks because she was covering for Winona, wasn't she?
well, no, not really. It was just that it seems like when Lisa messes up, she gets shock treatment. And none of the others do. I
That
don't
makes
know.
sense.
I don't know, but I mean that seems like that's what happens. So
And I'm like,
um
where's the other ward? How big is this place? Is it attached?
yeah, we only ever see just the one area. But yeah,
But
it's
she's
supposed
at
to
the
be like
other
a whole,
ward.
yeah, different area. But yeah, they she's like, nah, I ain't going back to that. So she takes off. Like I said, they get some money. And then they go to Daisy because Brittany Murphy's character had been released at one point.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, yeah, sure, because she's gonna do it for Valium. And this is the big thing we talked about with Lisa confronting her character. And this is, like I said, where they're really kind of showing the dark side and how mean and spiteful and kind of self-serving Angelina Jolie's character can be. Because she was insulted that Brittany Murphy's character was like gonna loan them money for their pancakes or whatever. Like she was
I don't
being
want your dad's.
nice.
I know. I was like, I don't understand why she got so mad at her
Because that's why, because she's fucking
because she was out. She had her own
broken.
apartment and
Yeah, exactly. She was jealous.
she was totally
So,
jealous.
but that's what I'm wondering. I'm like, so was what she was saying true or not?
I think it was for sure. Why else
Hmm.
would she kill herself?
Yeah, that's true. So, because
And
she
then
was like,
especially for
okay.
her to say like everybody knew.
Yeah, that's true.
And she was like, well, everybody knew. Guess I'm gonna go.
Yeah, maybe. That's terrible.
It is,
Um,
but because
oh,
I
I
got
did
into a
have
wormhole
one.
last night, like looking up that kind of stuff. Um, and that was the consensus.
Oh, okay, there we go. So yeah, because you're always like, because some of this movie will have more like questions too of like I said, some of the other characters. So that one was like, well, I think that was a for sure then.
Yeah, I
Like
think that was it for
with
sure.
that's messed up.
It kind of made me feel like getting once she got out with Lisa, then she realized she couldn't handle Lisa. Like, oh, crazy. It's all fun and games until you have to
Yeah,
take
it's
care of a person.
when it's in a sterile environment and everyone's being controlled,
And
her,
there's
yeah, she's
backup and
mm-hmm.
yeah. But once you get out in the real world and oh, crazy's not so fun anymore, is it?
Yeah. So, and that was just the tip of the iceberg, that was just her
Hmm.
going off on someone that they both already knew. And like I said, she's
Yeah.
already robbed
For no
someone kind
reason.
of.
For no
Yeah.
reason, too.
Yeah. Like, because someone extended an act of kindness, but she saw that
Hmm.
as them taking pity upon her. So, yeah. And then in this moment, too, it also shows how self serving they all are because Winona Ryder's character, and even she acknowledges later that she's like, so, someone else would have came up there directly, and at least talked to her or something.
Hmm.
And she doesn't. And then even when she
I
wakes
don't
up,
know. I don't
like,
know if I could have went up there after somebody went off like that. I've been like, oh my God, what do you even say to her after that?
well, I mean, I think I would have just left completely. I
Oh
would have been like,
yeah.
yo,
Cause
Daisy,
I
do you
when
want to go back
she
to the hospital with me?
yeah. No, I would have just been like, I'm leaving. This is all uncomfortable.
Like, yeah,
I'm
I would have
like, hey,
definitely
you know I don't
left.
feel like that, right? Okay, I'm leaving
Yeah,
now.
right. Like something. So this pretty much is kind of like this is the climactic moment because she discovers her the next day and Daisy has done the worst to herself and because of the accusations of her with her father. So basically you go into I guess basically it's like the final act of the film. Susanna's character goes back to the hospital because she stays with Daisy and everything and Lisa's character bolts. So yeah, I guess a couple of months have gone by, right?
Yeah, it has to have been.
I
It
think
had to have been at
well
least a couple of months.
overall she's supposed to have been there for like I think a year or so.
When it's all said and
Ultimately.
done,
Yeah,
yeah.
when it's all said and done. So yeah, I guess maybe a couple of months. And then so at this point Susanna has very much taken her therapy seriously, and things have been very much improving. And she is going to be released. And that is when Lisa shows back up. They finally catch her again. And she looks messed up.
Yeah, she looks terrible.
She looks real terrible. And yeah, and then she tells her, "Hey, I'm getting out, but I'm happy to like see you again," or something like that. Just something of like still trying to be like, "Hey, we're still friends,"
Right.
like kind of thing. Um, despite
But
what happened. But
obviously she doesn't want to hear you're getting out.
yeah, and then you can even see her. She goes for like the crazy
The crazy
eyes.
eyes.
And so in our last night, she wakes up and her roommate's gone and she sees Lisa's crazy door open. There'd been a ruckus earlier, so she knows she does the old bait and switch.
Mm-hmm.
And
Bait
they're
switch.
reading her journal in the
Oh my
basement.
God.
The worst thing that
OMG.
could ever happen to you. They're reading my journal.
I think I would have just pretended like I didn't know what was going on. Went back to
I would have
sleep.
just stayed asleep. I'm like, I don't give a shit what those people think. I'm
I'm like,
going
I'm gonna
home
be gone in the
tomorrow.
morning. I'm gonna lock my door so none of them come in
I
here.
know. Like, Georgina, you could sleep out there, asshole.
You're like, I calls them as I sees them.
Yeah.
You're like, well, fuck you. I put it in my journal. Be nice.
Oh, you know what I would do?
Could
I
have
would have
said it to your
burned her
face.
copy of The Wizard of Oz.
Why?
I'm like,
Georgina didn't really do anything, did she?
Georgina was there. She was participating. Like her and Polly. I'm like, fuck you, Polly.
Oh,
Like, yeah.
oh.
So yeah, I basically feels like they were all bullying her because she was getting to leave.
You're like,
And
did you do this with what's her face?
yeah,
No, you did
right.
not.
No,
You
they
took
did
her out for
not.
ice cream. Thank you very much. Now you're down here reading my journal, everybody.
Oh man. So yeah, so shit goes down up there, and then Lisa almost tries to inject herself with something. I don't even know what
Yeah.
it was. They
They
don't even
didn't
really
explain that at
explain
all.
that. I'm guessing maybe something got cut later because it was probably already it was going over 2 hours.
They're like, we gotta nip this in the
They're like, you
bud.
get the implication.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, you have a very heated moment where Lisa's pushing their buttons and going off and going crazy, and Winona straight up finally tells her the truth, and that Lisa's already dead. She's already dead inside. And that's when Lisa breaks down, and they have the touching moment where, like I said, she's doing her nails at the end, and Lisa's like, I'm not really dead inside. And then there's like the little narration, like cheesy scene
And
as
we knew
well.
Lisa wasn't dead inside
I know.
anymore.
And there's like fond farewells.
We
And
saw
then
that
it
after
ends with
77 years
like,
out.
yeah, and it ends with this ridiculous, like, well, am I crazy? Maybe life's just crazy.
Yeah. Is that what it said? Like,
It
was
did
that
end with, hang on,
verbatim?
maybe life's crazy.
That's literally
Yeah.
how it ended.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's one. Yeah. It was,
Grown.
I know, a little bit. It was a little angsty to watch it this time around where I'm like, oh Lord, I can see why teenage me
Mort.
liked it
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it
for
was
sure. And
watching it now, I'm like, was this for teenagers?
oh, it definitely wasn't meant for teenagers.
But you felt like it was made for them.
Yeah, exactly. I know
Wasn't meant for them, but it was
but it was
definitely
made for
made
them.
for
Yeah, like
them.
that's how it ended up being. So teenagers can handle a lot more, sometimes that mature content than you think.
Drama.
Yeah, so and it definitely had that in this one. I still enjoyed it though. It is a classic to me for
Oh
a
yeah.
reason.
Nostalgia, big time.
Definitely.
I
And
loved Winona's hair in this. It is
yeah,
adorable. Looks so
just a
cute. I
strong female cast.
I really think that's why I love horizontal stripes so much.
Oh yeah, she definitely rocked them in this one.
Hmm.
This was her
So
wasp
cute.
goth.
I loved it.
Oh,
Still
so
held
good.
up.
Yeah, she was great in that. Angelina Jolie, yeah, great performance, of course.
Hmm. It was very
Again, Brittany
reminiscent.
Murphy, fantastic.
Yep.
Everyone
It
did really
was
good.
sad, because then, she passes later
Hmm.
on in real life too.
Yeah, that was something I read. Winona Ryder says that she can't watch this movie anymore for that reason. She
I
says
can
she
see
just gets
that.
too,
Yeah.
yeah, she's like, it just brings her
Emotional.
down, knowing, how her character doesn't
Right.
make it either. So I guess it just is like, yeah, too much. But yeah, I mean, she was great in it though. I wish we would have got to have seen her in more things like that, you know.
Yeah.
And Whoopi Goldberg, as we've mentioned, great.
Oh, she's a classic character, I mean,
Mhm.
actress. She's
Yes, yeah.
can't go wrong with Whoopi.
Nope. And I mean, like I said, and all the other supporting girls did really great. And like I said, a young Elizabeth Moss straight away being, yeah, put into a set like that would be intimidating for sure.
I
So
didn't
yeah,
realize she was quite
overall,
that young in it.
right. Yes, overall, definitely still one I would go back to. I mean, probably, yeah, not maybe in another decade. Like, and then I
Yeah, for
would,
sure.
it's a long one.
It's a long one, and that's not something I want to watch all the time. It's kind of a downer.
Yeah, true that, true that.
I'm not that angsty anymore.
I know. Agreed.
I don't want to be brooding.
Well, that was Girl Interrupted. And
Yeah,
as always, you can find us at Film Gazers on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Threads. You can also find our Discord. We are the Film Gazers podcast community, and you can get a link on X or whatever it is. And yeah, find us there if you want. This month will be Reality Bites. For finishing Winona Ryder Appreciation. And then, of course, we'll have our little summer vacay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Starting
remember, we will be. Yeah, technically. It was after the next one, not now.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
that's
you
right.
jumped the gun. You jumped the gun. You got too
Forgot.
excited.
Forgot.
um, But don't forget, we will still have an episode releasing like on our normal rotation. It's just going to be a little mini-sode.
Releasing.
Releasing. I had a burp, and I was really trying not to. I'm sorry. I did not do it as smoothly as I thought.
I caught it.
Well, time to hit the dusty trail.
Until next time.
Later, taters.